any of you guys are familiar with this meme, particular meme. But anyway, my name is Zain. So I do full stack web development. Uh, Python was my first programming language. I started in 2020, of course, with the programming languages. I mean, with Python in 2020, and I did CS50. I think many of you are aware of CS50. So it's a course by Harvard for the fundamentals of programming and computer science. So you can also follow me on Twitter and GitHub with the Zain Shabbir. That's my username. And fun facts about me that I am from Pakistan. I like learning languages, both human languages and also programming languages. And I also watch anime. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many of you are here who like languages. I mean anime as well. So, so the title is a little misleading here. What do you mean by solving? I mean learning Python by solving programming problems. So you see, programming problems they can be solved in any language. So it's not really specific to Python. And the reason for including that is to, of course, Python. So we should be talking about Python. But my main focus is going to be about programming solving, and of course, I will also talk how solving problems have helped me learn Python better. So let us continue. So why problem solving matters? At the heart of programming lies problem solving. So you see, in everyday life, you have some problems. Maybe if it's like opening a can or a jar, or maybe squeezing out that little ketchup from the packet, all of them are problems. And also, you have some problems in your computer science classes, maybe, or maybe some problem you are solving on your computer, whatever. Maybe you are trying to watch an anime. That's also a problem because they are not available for free. You have to look for solutions. So all of those problems, you have to solve them. And to solve them, of course, you need some skills like you have to break down that problem, and of course, so let us continue. So problem solving enhances logical thinking and coding efficiency. So logical thinking, of course, when you are opening a jar or a can, so you have to follow some steps like how do I open this? Should I rotate it like clockwise or anti-clockwise? So all of those things, they are logical. And to solve problems, really, you have to follow a logical procedure. I mean, logical. Maybe it's like again, giving an example of watching anime. You have to look for a website, and you have to make sure the website does not have maybe viruses or whatever. So solving that problem, you have to think logically that where can I get get this website which is not trying to help me download free RAM. So it is good for logical thinking and actually helps you in coding interviews as well. Importance in coding interview, as I said, because when you go to maybe Amazon, Google, whatever, there they are going to ask you to solve this particular problem. So you have to know problem solving to actually yes that interview. So let us continue. So how do I go on solving problems? So understanding the problem is the first step. Again, I think I'm repeating myself too much. uh, Read the question carefully. What is the input? What is the expected output? All those things. I mean, in cases of, since I'm talking here about lead code, so I mean programming problems itself. So of course you have to understand what the question really is, what the input is, what the expected output is, all those things. Maybe it's something related to your software or your side project you are working on that you have to solve. Maybe some button is not centering on the browser, or you have to change the color of the button, all of those things. So you have to understand that thing before you can actually continue solving that problem. So go through the examples. Often when you look for problems on the, of course, many of you have done programming problems. So when you go through the programming problems, you see that they have some examples as well to help you better understand what the problem actually is and how, what the input is and how the output is going to be, how you should be expecting the output to be. So, so you have to break it down into smaller and smaller parts. Again, watching anime. you have to break down into parts like maybe look for a website, maybe make sure this website is actually giving me the anime which I look for, which I want, all those things, and break down that into smaller parts and try to solve those smaller parts first before uh, completely solving the problem itself. So simple solution or even brute force. So you see, once you have the basic understanding of the problem, the first thing you should be doing is to just solve it. Many of the people I've seen, what they do, they have the problem and they have started solving. Maybe they have broken down the problem into 5 steps. They are working on the first step, and the first step, the once they are done with it, they are starting to optimizing that code. Instead of actually solving the problem, they have gone into the rabbit hole optimization, where they never finish. Maybe the problem they could have solved in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but they are over optimizing the solution and they are never reaching the end. So you have to first just make sure that, just like when you are in startups, you have to do multi-valuable products. You have to show something. You have to get something out. So that's the same thing with programming and I mean problems as well. Problem solving, that you have to first solve it before you can do optimizations and putting that fancy stuff on it. So of course, after you are done with that, you can refine the problem into and use the patterns and whatnot and space complexity, all those computer science stuff. I'm not very good at them, so I will not go into detail. So let's look at an example. So there's this two sum problem on lead code, quite simple. I mean, it's an easy problem, and they are giving you an array of integers num, and then they're asking you to give them the target. I mean, they are giving you a target as well. So they're asking for indices of two numbers such that they add up to target. So this is a very simple language, I mean, problem. They have also given some few more details about the problem down there, that you may assume the input would have exactly one solution, and you can return the answer in any order. So that's like the basic details about the problem itself. So we continue there. So they have given some examples that they are going to give you nums and they're going to give you target and what your output should look like. So again, if you look at the example, so the nums array has the first two things of 2 and 7. So if you add up 2 and 7, they give you 9, which is target, and output should be again 0 and 1, because those are the indices of those two characters or those two items in the array. Example 2 is the similar. So here we should first understand the problem, what it is all about. So the the problem itself is that they're asking for the indices I and j, where nums of I and nums of j both add up to the target. So again, the solution should be unique. You cannot use the same element in an array again, because that is not allowed. So again, examples which I already explained, that nums have this target and 2 plus 7 is equal to 9. So quite simple stuff. Example 2, again the same thing. So let us continue to the solution. So first of all, again, we should try to do the brute force solution. I mean, a simple solution that should add up, I mean, give you the result as soon as possible, because you don't have all the time in the world. Brute force solution, so again, use nested loops in this case to check every pair. Here's the code example. So as you can see, there's a first loop, and then there's a second loop. All of them, they are trying to, the first loop is trying to iterate over every object in the nums. The second loop is trying to iterate every object except the first one. So we continue. So here it is an if statement checking if our numbers are, I mean, if we are reaching our target, and then returning that in an array. And if we haven't found any solution, we just return the solution. But if you look at this solution, it is actually using two loops, which is not very efficient, but it is solving our problem. So whatever works, works. But it is not very efficient because it is using two loops. And for example, here in your case, you might have 4 or 5 or 10 elements in the array. So it is going to take a little time. But what if it has infinite number of elements? So that is going to be a problem for you and your computer. So once the problem is submitted, you can see that the runtime is quite high, and it also only beat up to 14% of the people approximately. So not a very optimal solution. So what should we do? First, let us check on the complexity. Again, boring stuff of n square because we are running two loops. Iterates over n time, and n can be infinite. And again, problem for your computer and yourself. Maybe if you take too much time, your boss might even kick you out. So we should optimize the solution. So brute force is always doesn't work as we thought before. Because again, if you have infinite characters in your list, it is not going to be very efficient. So what should we do? Optimization is where the actual fun is. Python learning. I mean, you see, once you are doing the optimization, that is where the learning part of Python itself, the language, comes in. So you see, learning a language, in my opinion, doesn't mean just knowing the syntax of the language. Learning about language also means that you should know what tools or functions or methods in that language are available to your disposal so that you can efficiently use them and maybe optimize your problem, maybe, yeah, to use to your. So again, we try to optimize the solution. Here I am using a dictionary, which is like native in Python, I believe. So num dictionary, then I am running a loop. Here you can see I am using a built-in function numerate on the nums array. Again, instead of running two loops, I'm using one here. So again, I'm using a complement, removing the target from the nums. So what it is actually doing that instead of checking on every character, I mean every element of the array twice, just like in our old solution, it is only using one loop here, using a built-in function to simplify things for you. And then it is checking that whether that complement is in the num dictionary, and then returning the indices. And down there you can see that num dict of num, it is saving the element as the key, and then the index as the value. So again, here the reason for using dictionary is because dictionary have retrieval time of O of 1, and it is very helpful in optimizations because actually I have heard somewhere that if you only have dictionary, you can solve almost any coding problem there is. So dictionary is very useful for that. So again, if there's no solution, just return an empty. So once you submit this, you will see that it has quite improved our our solution. Before it was almost reaching like 2 seconds to finish our to solve our problem. But now, since we have optimized it a little and used the numerate and dictionary and whatnot, we have seen that it is only taking 48 milliseconds, and it is beating almost 96% of the people who have submitted and solved this question. So, of course, in this case, once you start optimizing the problem, that is where I believe that you are going to actually learn more about Python, because optimization, again, optimization, when it comes to optimization, you can devise your own solutions, or you can use built-in functions. You can use a loop, or maybe make your own sorting algorithm and a function to use that to sort out some list. But you can also you can also sort out the list by using the built-in functions. Because you will see that built-in functions in Python, I mean, not just in Python, in any program language, they are very optimized and efficient, down to milliseconds. So they can be very helpful when solving these problems or any problem in your database or whatever. So again, optimizing insights that we are using the enumerate function on the nums, and actually enumerate turns you the index and the value of each of the element in an array. So that is quite useful when you have, I mean, do this kind of problem. Again, dictionaries, hash maps, very useful because they have an of one average time complexity for lookups. Then realization that the language depth is very important when solving the problems itself. It is not just to Python, it is also in any language. If you know JavaScript or any other language, of course, if you know JavaScript, you can use the built-in functions only when you know about them. So knowing only comes when you have some certain problem and you want to try to solve that problem. Practical experience, again, learning by doing, This is where the fun is. So, growth insight. Each optimization attempt is a step towards mastering Python, showing that solving problems is inherently educational. So, again, solving problems is very helpful in coding and not just in coding in your daily life. Let us move on. So, here are some of the examples which, if you are a beginner, you will try to know, try to solve the problem. And here you can see the list comprehension. You will use a for initiate the squares array first before doing that list. But you can also do that the same thing using just list comprehensions in a single line of code. And that one you will see in the while in maybe most of the libraries out there happenings. Might be wondering what this thing is, but it's good to know about this. Again, map and lambda function. So you can see that here there are 3 lines of code, and again we are using for loop. But there is also a map function which iterates over every element of your array, and you can forward a lambda function to map, which runs operations on your elements of array, and then you are using a list to return that list again. Using collection. So you see, when you are into problem solving, maybe you are doing lead code or advent of code or something like that, and you are looking at solutions, you will see a lot of the times there's this built-in library called collections that people are using, and it has a lot of functions. There's a counter, there's default dict and whatnot. They can be very helpful to you if you know about them. So collections, there's this counter function which counts the words for you instead of you using the maybe your own solution. Again, knowing the language can help you better understand the problem. I mean, better help solve the problem. There's also default dict against from the, I believe it is from the collections as well. So this default dict is like if you're adding some, if you are trying to look up for some key in a dictionary, in a normal dictionary, it is going to throw an error. But if you are using default dict, it is going to add a new element with the new key if it's not there when you are trying to look up. Actually, it is not going to throw error, something like that. Generator expression for memory efficient. You can see in the big list, it is going to just create a list in the memory, and in the second one, it is going to generate items on the fly. Again, knowing the problem, I mean, knowing the language is helping you also being a good programmer, or maybe helping you solve whatever. So again, why learn Python by solving problems? It is a hands-on learning. I don't have time, let me finish here. Builds critical thinking and learning by doing. So where to find the problems? So mostly I use code. In December, there's also an advent of code which some guy runs. They have very cool problems. You should try this out this December. I mean, by the time you finish, you will see that you have learned which they encode in the problems. And while you are trying to solve that, you also learn those computer science concepts as well. So HackerRank, Project Euler is mostly mathematical based. So if you are anyone of you is in mathematics, it's going to help you a lot. So code signals and code wars. So resources for further learning. So you should Google, because again, learning is also a problem solving in itself, and you should always be ready to search for your problems on Google, because I've seen a lot of people. They will come to me, Zain, how do I print this thing? Google. And I mean, little stuff that if they are just typing the same question they're asking me, they could be learning more a lot from me. I mean, from the Google than from me. So I think that's it for my talk. Thank you very much. You.
I'm Joshua, a Python developer, and I've been told to ask questions, but
Okay.
the details I was getting, I
I'm
can
not
get them.
getting you. I think you have to talk later.
Okay. So the question is about optimization.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how Python is abstracted, like there is so much they do for you at the back that you don't need to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about enumerate, and if it increases either time complexity or space complexity, because at that point it seems you eliminated the loop, but then you added a function. So that was the question. Does
So,
it actually, what's the effect, or what difference does it make?
so you see, first of all, I think in enumerator, first of all, it is helping you to only use one loop. I think it is not just because of enumerator, because you're also using a dictionary that is allowing you to use only one loop. And about the what do you call it? You are saying underlying stuff.
Enumerate is run in the
So you are
implementation of
saying
Python
time
itself.
complexity and space complexity, right?
Yes,
So
that's
I think enumerator again when using built-in functions, as I heard, I'm not even sure myself that when you are using built-in functions, they are going more likely to be more optimized than your own solution. And of course, when you are using your own solution, if you don't have a very strong background in computer science or maybe Python, as we are talking that we are learning Python here, so there you are going to make mistakes, maybe by even using more memory, or maybe even you are going to use more time to resolve that issue by doing it yourself. So enumerate, of course, there's some stuff happening under the hood. I don't go into details because I don't know either, but it is helping you in some way. So you see, I think I expand a more on that. You should look at some competitive programmers, and what they do, they just solving the question. I mean, solving the problem. And most of the times, when they don't understand the problem, they will just go and Google and look at the stuff that enumerate is doing this. They will just use it. And if it's solving again, if it's working, it works. We don't need to touch it. So again, but if you want to go more deeper into Python, you should learn about what enumerate is doing on that code, and maybe if you are learning compiler design and whatnot. As yeah,
My name is Isaac, and my question is about how to approach lead code questions, because you talked about these comprehensions and all that. But what would somebody who has just landed on lead code, or who has just begun, learning
yes.
Python, how can you advise that person to be able? I don't know what level you are at lead code.
I'm not at a very good level because
Okay.
I just don't do just lead code. I also do. But let me answer your question. I think when it comes to lead code, you should always try to solve the easy problems first. Because if you open lead code right now, you'll see that there's easy, medium, hard, and they are on the first page. They are jumbled up. They are not sorted by easy, medium, hard. They are random. Maybe the first problem you will find is a hard problem. So you are solving, you fail to solve, and you are burnt out. You don't want to go there anymore, but you should start from the easier ones, because you will see easier ones you might learn a pattern, something like a sliding window problem. And the easier one, it is going to be easier for you to solve using that sliding window pattern. You will go into medium ones and you will see that again the same pattern being used, but you already know about that pattern. It is going to be easier for you to solve the medium ones. Again, when you go to the hard ones, there is going to be some more complexity, but you are already prepared for that because you have learned by steps.
Okay. And next one is what topics you give like somebody to be able to prepare for such kind of
BI1.
the topics that somebody would study. For example, you talked about these comprehensions and collections, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So what other topics you
Yes.
point out?
So I think let me come again to here. You see, when I started learning programming or Python, I was using this book. I think all of you are aware of it, the book Automating Boring Stuff with Python. So you are learning that book, and you are reading that book, and it is teaching you teaching you also problem solving. Maybe you want to copy some file from this folder to the another folder. So it is giving you code, but it's also explaining that same code. Again, if you know the syntax and you are solving that problem, you want to optimize, you are going to Google How? Why is it happening here? Maybe you have 100,000 list items. You want to sort that out, and it is taking you maybe an hour. You don't want to waste hour on sorting that out, and so that's where you are going to find on Google that I want to sort out this stuff, but more faster. So it is going to let you know that use this, use that. That is how I learned actually. So that is the only example I can give or advice.
Okay, yeah. So we have a question here and a comment. Then we move on to the next
Yeah.
speaker. Yeah. Let's have both of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
My question is about your portfolio website. What languages did you use to build it? It looks really cool.
That one I used.
Huh?
I don't know if they have internet.
This is for anyone who wants to do lead code and stuff. There's a site, it's called algomap.io. It gives you like a roadmap starting from arrays, linked list, sliding window, everything. Easy, medium, hard. Yeah, algomap.io.
Sorry, I'm not getting you. Your voice is not clear.
There's a website
Uh-huh.
called algomap.io.
Uh-huh.
It has like a roadmap. You can register with your GitHub and stuff, and it gives you a roadmap for lead code problems to solve,
Yes,
starting
yes.
from arrays, strings, everything.
Hmm.
And in the order easy, medium, hard, so it gives you kind of a better solution to study DSA and solve these questions and learn.
Yes, yes.
Algomap.io.
Yes, I think I am aware of that, and also I think I am also at a stage that I focus more on lead code patterns which appear again and again, and I believe learning those along the way. I mean, if you have a motivation to learn them, you should learn them first before diving into lead code. But if you don't have, then start with lead code, and it is going to teach you those things. Other than that, about your about my portfolio website, it was built with Next.js. I mean, that's where I think it is not showing here. No, it's having, but it's not showing there. So about my portfolio website, I'm using Next.js because I believe front end is my solid ground. I do backend as well, but mostly in Node.js or again Python. I love Flask, so I don't do much Django. So this is my portfolio website, and you can see that my photo is from 10 years old. I mean, quite old. Also, there's this button, resume button. It doesn't work because I removed resume. There was my email, so a lot of spam I was seeing there, so I removed it. But anyway, I think that's it. Any more questions, or we should move on? Thank you very much.
Round of applause for Zain.
Yes.
As our next speaker is setting up, there are people in the